Blessed be everyone. Welcome to another Mystery Witch School video on the YouTube channel, Mystery Witch School YouTube channel. Welcome to all of those of you who are watching the replay. This is a live on a Monday morning here in Queensland, Australia. If you are watching the replay, please still get involved in the comments field because I do read the comments and I do respond to comments as well. So do comment, share your own stories and experiences that you've had as well on all of my videos, because I love reading the comments and try to respond as much as I can, and usually heart pretty much everybody as well, even some of the comments that may not be supportive of witchcraft or even supportive of anything positive. I will still offer love through giving them a heart often, because I think they're probably the people that need the love the most. Today's topic is ritual and the part that ritual plays in witchcraft and look, in all magic and all spirituality and in everyday life where we engage in ritual all the time. So even getting up in the morning and the way that we get up in the morning and what we do in the morning before we get going is a ritual. So we humans are very ritualistic beings by nature. While I wait for more people to come onto the live, if you are new to the channel is here for you. Topics on Wicca and witchcraft, shadow work, and tarot. They are my favorite topics. There's also topics on spell crafting and magic, of course. But I love working with both the inner and the outer aspects of the craft and of the individual practitioner as well. If you want to know where to start your witchcraft practice, but you're really struggling to figure it all out because there is a lot of information out there and there's a lot of rituals out there. There's Sabbats, there's Esperts, there's spells, there's energy work, there's all kinds of things that witches do. I have a free video called How to Start Your Witchcraft Practice. There's a link in the description field after this video, and you can also find connections to that video if you go onto my website, mysterywitchschool.com. There you will find a very quick links to being able to sign up for that free video, How to Start Your Witchcraft Practice. It goes for about half an hour, so it's not one of those long masterclass webinar things that you sort of think you don't really have time for. I tried to make it quite concise, but just give you a bit of a blueprint or a roadmap, just to let you know this is what we do and this is where you can start. So start here and then you can add the other stuff as you go over roughly a 12-month period if you're wanting to take it nice and easy. So hello, SWAC fan, merry meet. And if you're watching the live, please jump in and into the chat too if you want to do that. So I'll get started now with the topic, because I'm one of those people that don't like to sit around for 10 minutes waiting for a live to happen while we wait for people to come and go and YouTube to organize uh, getting the information out to people. Most people watch the replays anyway. I tend to do that myself. So I wanted to talk about ritual because even though I've done a video on this in the past, so if you go into one of my playlists, I think there is a Wiccan ritual playlist, my channel, you'll also see a video that I did probably quite a few years ago on the same topic. And I wanted to do a live on this topic because it is a big part of what a lot of modern witches do. And even if you're a traditional witch and you don't necessarily do the more sort of Wiccan version of witchcraft, there's still ritual involved in magic and spells. We do ritual and spell work. We usually will ritualistically gather the materials together and we'll do up some kind of a sacred circle, even if it's putting salt on the altar and setting up the candle, anointing the candle, rolling the candle, coming up with the spell. All of these things are part of like a ritualistic thing that we do. And rituals got a number of advantages. It is a way of bringing all our thoughts together and organizing ourselves so that we've got a bit of structure there. to work within, so we've got parameters to work within, and it's not all just chaos. It also gives us a sense of creating space for what it is that we're doing, both psychologically and energetically. And it's important that we understand we're doing both psychological space creating as well as energetic space, because we need to be in the right framework and the right focus when we are doing a rite, whether that's a spell or whether that is like a Sabbat or something like that. And that framework, it just gets us focused on the task at hand, so we can focus on the magic. We can focus on the drawing down the moon energy. We can focus on why we turned up today and are doing a spell or a ritual. Focus on us being back into our power again, remembering ourselves, remembering who we really are. And ritual just allows us to create that space to do that, to focus on that, to feel again what it feels like to be a real human being, to be a being in general, and a connected being to the craft, to nature, to yourself, and leaving all that workaday, mundane world, the crazy world, uh, out of the picture. It's like you walk into a room when you create a ritual, you walk into a new space that you're creating, and all of the other stuff gets left at the door, and you close the door and it stays outside, and you create your space where you remember the truth of who you are again, or connect to that truth of who you are again. The energetic work of doing a sacred ritual is to create sacred space on a vibrational level. So we are creating an elevation of energy. We are raising the vibe. We are calling in energies that are helpful energies, bringing those in to connect to and also to assist us in whatever it is that we might be needing, even if that is just a need to feel connected. I think ritual more than anything helps us feel connected to who we truly are, and we can connect back to our magical selves and our beingness through ritual, because energetically you're creating that space that's vibrating at that frequency and leaving all of the other stuff out the door. So it's really beneficial psychologically and energetically. Is ritual necessary? No, it's not necessary. You can still connect to nature. You can still connect to the goddess and god. You can still connect to your magic and do spell work without necessarily having to do a lot of formal ritual around it. For sure. And there are gonna be times when you probably will, and that's okay. It's just understanding that when you do maybe have more time to create a ritual, you're really feeling like coming into doing a ritual, you'll notice that there's a shift, that there is a difference in how you feel. And I find that with group rituals, when we create a circle as a group and we've done a ritual in a group, that when it's time for the circle to be sort of closed down and we leave the circle, we don't want to leave. We want to stay in that space, stay there to maybe meditate or just enjoy the energy. It's You really feel that when you're in a sacred ritual space. It's like, I don't want to leave because it just feels so good here. So when it comes to our Wiccan circles or your more sort of Western uh, circles of like witchcraft, where we will often bless the space before we even start. So if I'm working outdoors, particularly, I like to thank the spirits of the land, the local spirits, even before I start working, just to let them know what it is that I intend to do in the space. So that's all the local spirits. And to it's a way of, I guess, honoring the neighbors and just respecting the land and also it's a way of making friends with the local spirits as well, so that, they're there, on your side and, you're not, going to end up with any crossed conditions or anything like that. Hi, Sonia. So I like to bless and to welcome in the local spirits, the spirits of the land. And with a circle, the way that I was taught to do a circle, and I think a lot of us have been taught differently. I've certainly seen different ways of doing circles in books and the way that different groups teach circle work. But when I set up a circle, the first thing we did was do a candle lighting ritual where we just go the four quarters and just light the candles. And that would start the feel of something starting to build, something starting to happen. Then would go around with the salt water and then the incense. So with the salt water, we're bringing in water and earth and going around the circle, sprinkling salt water. With the incense, you've got air and you've got fire, and you're going around the circle with the incense. So, again, you're cleansing and consecrating the space with the four elements by doing that. And then it would be a case of calling in the elements. It doesn't really matter which way you do this. You could either call in the elements first. So that's the four elements, the watchtowers. Now, this depends on what tradition you follow too, as to what you call in. Archangels are still used even in witchcraft as guardians of the watchtowers. You've got various different traditions that will work with the elemental guardians in various different shapes and forms. And then going around the circle, either with a wand or an athame, and actually creating the circle energetically. And so you've gone through a few processes to actually set up the circle before you start. So energetically, you've built a vibrational energetic space, and also psychologically, you've built a circle space, and you really are present then when you go in to call in and invite the deities to come into the circle and be with you in the circle. And then from there, it's really just a case of what you're actually doing in the circle in that particular time. Is it celebrating a Sabbat like we've just had, Yule here in Australia, and in the Northern Hemisphere, you've been celebrating Letha, and just celebrating, just enjoying life, enjoying the connection, just enjoying the vibration without having to do anything or having to manifest anything, just enjoying what it is that we have and connecting to nature and connecting to ourselves and what we're experiencing at this time of the year within ourselves. I had a conversation the other day with somebody who was saying that this time of year, which is winter here in Australia, they just didn't it wasn't a get up and go time for them. They never really felt like, "Yeah, I wanna get out and work hard," sort of thing. The inspiration to create or to do things, like, on a creative level isn't so much there in winter. And it's just perfectly natural to maybe be a person that's more creative in summer than you are in winter, and other people are the reverse. Some people are more creative in winter. It really just depends, but just honoring that that's your cycle and that's how you work. You can do that within the circle as you're experiencing that. With a ritual, you might want to then do a spell, and even though you don't need to set up one of those big circles every time you wanna do spell work, if you're doing a spell that you're particularly, focused on, or that you want a bit of extra energy, then setting up a circle will certainly help, because it's giving you that space, and it's also going to help raise the vibe so that you can really spend the time feeling into the wish fulfilled and feeling into your own power when you do a ritual as well. Doing ritual is an opportunity to help us remember ourselves, to remember that we are magical beings having a human experience. And we forget that because we've never been told that. We're not told this. We're not told a lot of things when we grow up, and a lot of the experiences you'll have when you do connect to yourself, when you do connect to nature, when you do connect to spirit, are going to be experiences where you may find that it is a coming home feeling, like you're home in that environment. The first time I experienced that sense of coming home to the truth, and this was a really strange thing because you'd say, "Well, what's truth?" And I was on an island, just, in Moreton Bay, just, opposite where I live. We've got 2 big islands, and, one of them's called Stradbroke Island, and I've had quite a few interesting realizations on that island. It's a very magical island, and I was in nature. I was just in, one of the bushland there, and, I suddenly had this feeling that it was real. Like, this is the only real thing. This is the truth. This is the real. And that all of the human world of all the stuff that we do in the human world that causes us a lot of angst, that causes us a lot of, frustration, that causes us a lot of difficulty, surviving in the modern world, basically, that there's something even though it's happening, there's something not real about it. Something not truthful about it. And that being in nature and just really feeling into the energy of nature really felt like that was the truth. There was a truth in that, a reality in that, that this was real, but the human created world, modern world wasn't real, really. And that, was a very, very interesting experience, and I find that if I create a ritual space, that I can also create that feeling of there's something real about creating that sacred space. Hi, Anita. Is doing the lesser banishing ritual of pentagram effective? Absolutely. I have done that for years and years and years and years and years. It's a great ritual. It's a reasonably quick one. You don't have to spend that much time. I think it takes probably about 3 to 5 minutes, depending on how fast you are. It's a great ritual to do every day, definitely. And it gets you focused. It raises your vibe, and it's just a way of you getting settled back to you again, you know? Because I think we fragment ourselves when we're in the outside world, working, dealing with people, having to deal with all of the restrictions in the world and all of the do's and the don'ts and the shouldn'ts and the shoulds and all of that social stuff too. We have to deal with that on this, and it scatters us. It scatters who we are. We end up not knowing who we are because we're being told from the outside world that we have to be all these different things or we have to be a certain way. And that those goalposts are always changing. They're never the same. And so we come in from this crazy world of manipulation into trying to find the truth of our being and the truth of who we are. And the ritual space prepares us psychologically for that and also energetically for that as well, so that we can really start to tune into bringing our fragmented selves back together again and feeling, who am I and what am I doing on this planet? What was the real reason I came here in the first place? Because a lot of the time we forget because we're just so distracted and bamboozled by all the bells and whistles going on in this really, really busy, crazy culture, Western culture that we live in. We're a long way away from those days when we would have communicated with nature when life was simpler. Um, our ritual space is like a sanctuary. It's a psychological sanctuary that we can create wherever we are. We can take our ritual space with us anywhere. And when we learn to create a ritual space in the astral, and the lesser the a lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram is great. Just doing it in your head, like visualizing yourself doing it and imagining yourself actually doing it. You're creating it. And you can do that with any kind of ritual space. You can actually do it in your imagination. So you could be in a park in the middle of a city and create your magical space and just sit there and meditate or have your lunch or ponder or read or whatever it is that you want to do, and you've created that sacred space around you, and you've in a way you've kind of closed the door to any of the other stuff that might be going on in the outside world, that outside that ritual space, that you're not really wanting to come into contact with. So you can take your sanctuary everywhere. When you're used to doing a ritual in the physical, then you can take it and do it in the astral simply by imagining you're doing it. So you feel yourself standing up, you feel yourself calling in the elements, you feel yourself drawing the pentagram, you feel yourself doing all of those things. And then, as we know, the subconscious mind can't tell the difference between what's real and imagined. And from a magical perspective, whatever we're creating in our feeling state, whatever we feel, it becomes real. So feeling that sense of being in that ritual space, from imagining having created it, we are actually in that sacred space. So we can take it everywhere. Okay, I feel my energy raised after a workout. It's an easier flow of a ritual or meditation for me. Out of a workout. So, yes, physical activity is a great way to raise energy, and it also raises those endorphins as well. So we get that feeling, an uplifted feeling psychologically. And there's ritual to working out too. You might find there might be certain ways that you go about working out that's kind of a bit of a ritual for you. And so that can be made into a sacred ritual. Even just if you, I don't know what type of exercise or workout that you do, but it can become ritualized. You can certainly ritualize it. I know from having done ballet for years that there's definitely a ritual around that. And it has a certain feeling around it. And so if you bring the sacred even into that activity, the physical activity that you do, um, you are also working spiritually at the same time. They can be totally together like that. Um, hi, Stephanie. Okay. So, yes, some of the benefits of ritual. So, I think a lot of people get confused with ritual too, because there can be a fear about, am I getting it right? Am I getting it wrong? And if I get it wrong, is that going to be, a catastrophe? Am I going to be struck down by lightning, by an archangel or an elemental or something like that? I do teach, of course, circle creating in the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy. And I go through that step by step, with a video to actually show you how to create a sacred space in a more of a traditional sort of Wiccan circle format. So the reason that I teach it the way that I do in the course is just simply because I think it helps when you can break things down and just practice things without necessarily worrying about whether you're doing it right or not when you're first starting to learn. It's just simply a case of, okay, this is a sequence of events, and it's okay if I don't remember them. It's okay if I've got to look at the PDF and go, "Okay, what's next?" Uh, or you've got to look at the video a number of times to work out how to draw the pentagram, and that's fine. It's okay to make mistakes when you're learning. It's okay to fumble around and, I'm trying to think of the word, not fudge, to make mistakes, and it happens all the time. So if you're not doing ritual because you're worried about making a mistake, if you're just doing a ritual to create a sacred space, then you don't need to worry about making a mistake, because it's not going to be a problem if it's simply because you're wanting to create sacred space in order to celebrate something, in order to do something that is of a sacred vibration anyway. If you're doing magic and you're concerned about any other interferences with magic, then just a really simple banishing circle will do. It's not like you have to do a lot of you just want to basically clear the space and make sure that the space is sacred and clear energetically and psychologically when you're doing spell work, depending on the spell. A lot of people, when they're doing spell work, will actually put salt circle, particularly if they're doing candle magic, they'll put it around the actual candle itself. That's a nice way of working with the feeling of protection and safety. That's probably a more traditional way of working. In a more of a Wiccan context, we tend to actually be in the circle ourselves. And some people do like to use salt or eggshells to mark the circle. My high priest, he actually had a room that was dedicated to his circle, and he actually had a black sheet that covered the entire floor of the room with the pentagram on it. So that made it very, very visual, so that visually you really felt like you're in that space because you had the circle around you and you had the pentagram. Not everybody has the ability to have that luxury, but it certainly is nice to feel that you are in a circle and that you are feeling safe and secure. But sacred space is really just about raising the vibration. If you're raising the vibration, you're resonating on certain frequency. And so anything on a lower frequency isn't going to resonate with that. It's the law of vibration is really about things resonating on the same frequency. And if you play a stringed instrument, you'll know that. You'll know about strings vibrating at the same frequency. Even if you're playing an A on one instrument, there could be certainly the either harmonics or the A on other instruments will also start to vibrate as well. So think of music when you're thinking of vibration. Anything that's sort of going to be harmonious with a particular frequency is going to vibrate with it. But if it's not at that frequency, it's not going to vibrate, if you know what I mean. And this is something that's important to know when it does come to baneful magic. And if you are concerned about anything baneful energetically being around or sent to you or anything like that, raise your vibration, raise your frequency, and that psychologically and energetically. And then that energy is not going to be able to really hit you because you're not going to be vibrating with it. A lot of the time when it comes to curses and baneful energy, and it's really about uh, catching the person when they're on a lower frequency. If they're of a higher frequency, it's not going to affect them because it doesn't affect everybody. So keep your vibration high. Take your ritual space with you, even if it's just in your imagination and you're building it energetically. And it's naturally a way to be able to keep any of that other stuff at bay. But your own vibration, your energy signature, which is all based on the psychological makeup, what you feel, how you perceive the world. Is your cup half full or is your cup half empty? All affects your energy signature and affects what frequencies you'll resonate with. That's why the shadow work's important because it helps raise the vibration. Um, Now, what age would you say it is okay to teach kids about the craft? I'd say when it comes to things that are, I guess, child at their level of understanding, and at their level of development, you can start teaching them things straight away. Like if they're seeing fairies and stuff, of course you'd encourage them you wouldn't be saying, "Oh no, they don't exist," and stuff like that. I think when it comes to magic, uh, Yeah, it is like you do have to learn things when the child's, I guess, cognitively able to pick things up. I guess it's really just the first thing that I guess you really need to think about is when it comes to the ability to be able to self-regulate and to use magic in a way that's helpful and not harmful. But I know that from some of the children in uh, that belonged to people who were in my covens, there was a 9-year-old that was very much into it, and she even got Wiccaned as yeah, I think just it's like any spirituality or any religion, it's just exposing it to them, explaining it to them as you go. Anything that you think they're not ready for, um, then, you don't necessarily need to share with them, but I think that kids should be aware of it, right from the get-go so that they grow up with it, and, it's not something that's, you know, um seen as being, a bad thing. Okay. Can a meditation with a candle be considered a ritual? Yes, absolutely. Merry meet Lewis. Okay. I did until the candle set off my alarm. Oh, till I had my fan pointed toward the candle. Oh, okay. Hi there. Hi, Trish. North Brisbane. Great. North Brisbane. So I'm in the north as well. I'm in Redcliffe, so that's north of North Brisbane. I will have to get live, meetups again. I used to do meetups in the Brisbane area on the north side at Sandgate, um, before COVID, and, then sort of, the lockdowns and everything, and then I just haven't really got back to doing the live meetups again because I think at the time I was feeling a bit burned out, so I have been thinking about getting live, groups again happening, and it would be on the north side. Okay, my son is 6 and has his own wand and does do some holidays. Awesome. Yeah, like Sabbats, like celebrational things, fun things, things that kids can make. The kids love making things. Like, yeah, making the wand, uh, the tools that they're not gonna hurt themselves with. And, yeah, celebrating decorations for Sabbats and, even going out under the moon and, all of those sorts of things would be great for kids. Had a dream that I found money in my wallet. How would you interpret that? Oh, I guess it depends on your relationship to money and how you found it and what you felt when you found it. Think of, you can think back to the feeling that you had when you found the money in the wallet in the dream, and that will be a huge key to what the dream means. The feeling is really significant in dreams as well as the imagery. And if you can remember how much money was in there, if there was like a dollar amount in there too, numbers are also quite significant. Hello, Juniper. Okay, hello, the poor in spirit. So, what else did I want to say about ritual? I mean, that's really it. Ritual doesn't have to be difficult. It's just a tool that we use to connect with our being again. I like the idea of using ritual to do that. Even if it is lighting a candle, even if that is your ritual, even if it is just simply how you set up your meditation cushion, if you use a meditation cushion, if that's your ritual, it can be one or two motions, to be a ritual. We talk about cleaning your teeth every day as a ritual. The way that you get up out of bed and what's the first thing you do when you go to get out of bed? That's all like a ritual. I tend to follow the same structure every morning, and that's all a ritual is. It's just a structure that we tend to follow. So that can be as simple as lighting a candle, or it could be more complex as a full-on circle with all of those different layers that I was telling you about earlier. That how we set up a circle. And when I'm working with groups live, like in person, I do set up the circle using those different layers, and we do stand in the circle even when the circles come down, like after we've, farewelled the watchtowers. We're just standing in the circle, wanting to stay there because the energy is still there after we've done it. And so if you're in a group of people, you feel it. You feel that energy, and, you don't wanna leave it. You don't wanna leave that sacred space. And if you do a ritual in the same space, so if you have a sacred corner maybe that, in your room, or you've got a space that you can use to do ritual every day, you use it every day, then that space starts to vibrate more and more and more and more and more with that energy. Even if it's just your meditation space where you go and you light your candle and you meditate, that's going to build in energy the more you do it. So you might find that if people do walk into that space, they will pick up on that energy and maybe complement the energy, and they go, wow, this room feels really, really great. I really like the energy in this room. Our living places and where we spend a lot of time, they resonate at the same frequency as ourselves. So if you want to bring more energy into your environment that is of a higher vibration, than doing ritual in that space that's raising the vibration is going to help raise that vibration. And that can be a way that you can certainly work with maybe some houses or spaces that you might move into, that it's not so much that there's anything there, it's just more that maybe the people that have lived there before, or there's just some resonating energy there that is not what you want it to be. uh, then you can always do ritual, a lot of ritual cleansing, and being that space by creating circles and doing ritual to raise the vibration of that space. And it will raise quite fast. You'll find it will raise quite fast. I've certainly done that in spaces. If you've had people living with you, or maybe if you live with flatmates and there was particularly there's some that really didn't have very good energy, you can certainly raise the energy after they've gone, and try to bring more of that positive vibe simply by doing ritual. Going around the home and sweeping out the negative energy, doing a floor wash, going around with some rosemary, some dried rosemary bundle, and seining your home with rosemary. All of those things are ritual. They're all ritual ways of raising the vibe, of focusing your attention, getting you into a space psychologically and energetically to vibrate at whatever it is you're wanting to vibrate at, to experience what it is you came to experience by doing the ritual in the first place. They're all rituals. All of these things are rituals. It's not just setting up a circle, it's cleansing the space. Uh, even if vacuuming can be a cleansing ritual. Sweeping, even with a normal broom, normal sweeping, can be a ritual cleansing. It's how we apply ourselves to the action that we're doing that makes it resonate at whatever frequency we're wanting to resonate at. Okay, I was surprised and relieved that there was a bunch of 10s and 20s. Oh, that's good. Okay, that's a good dream. That's a good dream. 10s and 20s. Mm. Renewed sense of self. You will be evaluating your own self-worth and parts of your life you've taken for granted. Mm. Yes, because it's to do with value, what you value. Money is what you value, or what we value. We value money, of course, because money has a value, literally. I was also trying to hide it from my mother. Oh, okay. Who's taken money from me before. Okay. So that's also can be that you're hiding yourself from, or you're hiding what you value, what's precious to you, from who your mother is representing. Um, it could be your mother literally representing your mother, or it could be your mother representing other aspects that might be going on in your life within the last 48 hours. So something's going on in the last 48 hours that you feel that you need to hide something valuable from. So that's how I would interpret that. But you've discovered it's valuable, which is great. So it makes you feel good. So you've discovered it, but you also are aware that you feel the need to keep it safe as well. Okay, so right, my altars, I have one that I work for bringing in good, and then I have a separate one that I send work out. So kind of an input output altars. Awesome, that's a good idea. Yeah, if you can have multiple altars, certainly. People sometimes have altars for different types of magic. So they might have a altar for money. So like a money or a material security type of altar where you're trying to keep the money flow coming in. So it becomes like a money flow. Other people will have a love altar. So they're keeping the love coming into a home. So you could have different altars at 4 different directions and maybe focus on different things that you want as well if you have that the ability to do that or the desire to do that. So you can do that for all sorts of things, and that's ritual. So if you go and light a candle on that altar that day, or if you're feeding the money box or feeding the money jar, that's a ritual. Going in and putting in, sprinkling in some basil, maybe putting in some more coins, taking coins out and spending them is a ritual. It's a ritual to keep the money flowing. That's why we need to keep cash, because it is the easiest way to work money magic. It's easy to work money magic with cash. Okay. Speaking of dreams, what would you say about a dream? A dream standing in the middle of a crossroad while staring at the stars in the sky. Suddenly I wake up. It was so wild. Again, how you felt when you were having the dream, and the crossroads. Again, it's to do with symbolism that is particular to yourself, of course. Crossroads, of course, can be about making decisions, but we also know that if you are in the magical field in witchcraft, there's also the Hecatean aspect to the crossroads. There can be a connection there to Hecate that your subconscious mind has. Crossroads are often to do with options and decisions, and when you're looking at the stars in the sky, it's the sky's the limit, really, for you. And what are you looking for? Is it that you need to make all these decisions, or what is it that you're maybe looking for something higher, something beyond the mundane paths that you could be walking on? It's like you're taking your gaze up beyond um, and looking for guidance to know which path to take, and trusting that higher guidance to lead the way rather than mulling over which decision do I make. Think about the last 48 hours before the dream and what's been going on for you. Looking for spiritual guidance on where your path should go. Oh, okay. Thanks, Stephanie. Robert, adding essential oils to the vacuum exhaust is awesome. Yeah, definitely improves the smell of the vacuum cleaner and that vacuum smell. and can certainly make it a sacred act too. Ishtar says, can certain liquor and herb cigars stimulate rituals? Yeah, of course, of course. Tobacco is a herb that's used in ritual often. Where are we? Yeah, spiritual areas. Yep, crossroads are spiritual areas. It's ancestor work a part of Wicca? Yes, yes, it can be. It can be. It's not necessarily something that started out originally But it's certainly something that makes sense to do because ancestor work was part of pretty much most magical traditions and spiritual traditions in from a pagan context everywhere in the world anyway. So working with ancestors is certainly something you can bring into a Wiccan practice for sure. Just last night, I also dreamed that I moved into a new house. Um, oh, honey in the walls and the ceiling and the floor. I keep having those wild, vivid dreams. Honey, you're very sweet. That's an interesting dream. That's what sounds a bit more complex. So, how did you react to the honey in the walls? Because honey is a very positive thing. It's not like it was mold or something like that. If it was mold, then it would be a different story. Um, I'm trying to tap into family generations of some gifts. Oh, dealt with them all through life. Is it true if you make a spell, it comes back to you times fold? No, I don't believe that is true about the 3 times 3. The 3 times 3 actually comes from another story that really didn't have anything to do with magic in general. The threefold law is kind of like a misunderstanding. I actually think I've got a video on this channel that talks about the threefold law, and there's actually something between witches. So it's not going to come back 3 times. It's going to come back to the level that you feel it to be true. Think about some of more of the law of assumption, law of attraction way of working, that whatever you send out and whatever you feel to be is. So it's about you being in the wish fulfilled, feeling that what it is that you've done the spell for is already and has already happened. And to that level of your feeling, it should come about to match that level of feeling. That's more how it works. And from the experiments that Lynn McTaggart and I think it was Joe Dispenza have done, that seems to be the case as well. So definitely would recommend Lynn McTaggart's work. And she did a book. I think one of her books was called The Intention Experiment, and Circle of Eight was another one of her books where she did experiments on this. And Joe Dispenza, he's done a lot of stuff on intention, more to do with health and healing, but also he's got a lot of stories about people that have had manifested trips overseas and jobs and things like that. And then if you want to sort of get into the older writers like your Florence Shovel Shin and your Neville Goddard writers, there's also, what's his name, Joseph Murphy. They talk about all of this as well. And they're really just talking about magic, but in a more modern, new age kind. I wouldn't even say new age, new thought. I think I'll use the word new thought way of talking rather than in the magical way of talking. Hecate, yes, Hecate, that's right. Bees. Yes, sustenance and life. Yeah, it's very beautiful. Yeah, honey is life for the bees regarding the dreams. Yep. When I give Hecate offerings, that is, yes, honey, eggs and honey, pomegranates, all those offerings to Hecate. Yeah, I think Hecate is trying to reach out to you. Have you dreamed of hearing dogs yet, or black dog, or Mother Goddess is reaching out? Could be. Okay. Awesome. So I'm going to end it there. If you do want to learn Wicca with me and you want to learn ritual and learn how to use your energy to do spell work and also connect to your witch self, that's another video I'm going to be doing. I think Thursday, I'm going to be talking about your witch self. Connecting to your witch self and developing that connection to yourself, to nature, and feeling back into what is real again in your being. The Mystery Witch School 101 Academy is the 12-month course where you learn all of that. So I take you step by step through 12 months of practicing the craft, and this is about practicing it. It's not about reading about it and then sort of thinking, "Oh, I'll do that tomorrow, or maybe I'll do that, or I'm not quite sure how to do that. I'd like to be able to do that, but I'm not sure." This is actually where you get to practice, you get to ask questions, you get to come together with other practitioners twice a month if you wish over Zoom, and we do rituals over Zoom. And we also do guided meditations and then have a chat and talk after that as well. So that you're not feeling like you're alone, and you're also getting guidance to help you actually practice the craft. So I slow it all down and give you the opportunity to practice. And practice is what it's all about. It really is about the practice. And I think that's the hardest thing for people is practicing, because it can be a bit of a, "Oh, I've got to sort of do this every day" thing, or "I've got to actually make time to do this." And it is what happens. Witchcraft's a craft, so we do have to do it, actually do it, and not just talk about it or read about it, as fun as it is. We have to actually do it, and that's the hardest part, is doing it. So that's why the course is structured the way that it's structured. It's to get you doing it. So the link to that course is in the description field below this video. It's also on my website, mysterywitchschool.com, under courses. And that way then, and you can join up anytime. It's not like a live thing like the tarot course is. You can join it at any time and go at your own pace, because we do the moon rituals twice a month according to the moon. So it's you can be at any level and still join in on the Zoom calls, whether you're a beginner, or whether you've been in. I know that Robert and Stephanie, you've been in for years, so yeah, and they still turn up. So it's you're sort of in with people who've been in Mystery Witch School Academy for about 3 years now, or longer. I don't know how long it's been, and others who've just joined up the following the week. So it's quite good. So Robert says, I find starting with one simple thing every day a great way to not overwhelm oneself. And you'll most likely add a little something later. And before you know it, you have 30-minute ritual. Absolutely. It's building, 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 building. Yeah. Okay, everybody. Thank you all for coming today and watching the live. Thank you for those of you watching the replay. Make sure that you still comment, like, and share the video to anybody who you think will benefit from this. Certainly do share it to help get the YouTube robot algorithm working, because it does weird things all the time. And yes, merry meet, merry part, merry come again, and have a wonderful week.